Hi everyone, this is Sambhav Dave and I'm going to talk on solid design principles and how can one use one of the principles in test automation framework. So what are solid design principles first? So these are used to create maintainable, reusable and scalable software designs. Now each letter in the word solid represents a specific design principle. The first one being the single responsibility principle, and that's what the video is all about. It is also sometimes abbreviated as SRP popularly, so we are going to address single responsibility principle as SRP going forward in this video. So what is SRP? SRP basically is a design principle that is used to denote a single purpose for a code block. What can be a code block? It can be a class, it can be a function, it can be a module. Anything, any entity containing some code has to have one unique purpose, and that's what SRP is. Now, I am going to explain SRP in the context of test automation. There can be other use cases as well. Obviously, there are, but I want to demonstrate that concept in the context of test automation. So let's dive into our IDE, and I'm going to use a Java based IDE, very popular, IntelliJ. So let's begin. So this is our IntelliJ IDE, and my project single responsibility demo is opened here. This is a Maven project. As you can see, there is a POM file, and if we go inside the POM file, you can see there are three dependencies that I'm using as part of this project. One is my test runner, which is very obvious, TestNG. Second is Selenium. I'm using Selenium WebDriver along with Java, so that's why I'm using its dependency. And third is WebDriver Manager for setting up our WebDriver. Now, in any Maven typical Maven project, you can see there are two source folders, main and the test. Obviously, the test folder will consist of the test files, and the main folder will consist of our page objects and other utility classes which we might want to use while designing our test automation framework. Now, starting off, I'd like to start off explaining from the test folder. So in the test folder, we have one Google test, the name of the test file, and it extends a base test class. We'll visit it in some time. So this Google test class contains a test method. As you can see, at test annotation from TestNG is used to make any method a test method, and the test method is called Google search workflow. This expects two arguments, keyword and index, which we are providing from the data provider. I'm providing keyword as Selenium WebDriver, and the index is 3. The role of the index is basically that whenever you enter anything in the Google search box, the autocomplete function actually pops up a drop down which contains the suggestions. So out of those suggestions, I want to select the third one. That is the role of the index in this code basically. So coming back to this test file, you can see that there are three classes that we are instantiating initially, and we are passing a WebDriver instance which is coming from the base test. Now what we are doing first, we are going to the calling the goto method of the Google main page, and it is hitting the Google website. Nowadays Google, whenever you open Google in a fresh setting, it will ask you whether you want to accept the cookies or you want to reject the cookies. So for that, the cookie prompt handler is getting used. Once that is done, we are checking that whether the search box is displayed or not. If it is displayed, then we are entering our keyword. Now we are waiting for the suggestions, so it will check whether it is displayed or not. Once it is displayed, we are again, as I said, we are clicking by index, and then once we click enter, we are waiting for the nav bar to get displayed, and then we are printing out the number of the results that the search engine has counted on our console. That's it. So this is our test flow, and let's look at the base test. So the base test is basically a parent class which any test class can inherit, and what it will do is that it performs two duties before test and after test. It performs the setup of the driver, which is being done using the WebDriver Manager dependency that I showed earlier in this video. And this WebDriver Manager takes care of setting up the driver and pulling in the latest Chrome driver. Here I'm using Chrome. You can use Firefox or Safari or whatever you feel like, and it is creating it, and it is giving that value to this driver variable, which we are using across our test file, provided that we inherit the base test, of course. So this was the before test method. The after test method handles the quitting of the driver, so this is doing that. A small disclaimer, whatever I'm showing in this framework particularly should not be considered as industry standard, because this is not really how we use in real-time scenario. This is just a basic functionality to make things work. Like for example, we don't really use data provider. We might be using Excel, we might be using any JSON or any other mechanism developed by the team, but just to demonstrate the concept of SRP, I'm using this course framework. Please take a note of this disclaimer. So let's dive down into the main folder of this project. So coming back to the main project, as you can see, there are three folders named as common, main, and result. Let's go into them one by one. So first of all, in a typical Maven project for test automation, the main folder will typically consist of the page objects. So this main folder also does the same job. So in the common folder, we have one abstract class called as abstract component, and in this class I've just declared one function for simplicity called as isDisplayed. So what it will do is that any class, which we'll see in a bit, any class that extends this abstract class has to define that isDisplayed method according to its own needs. So this comes in very handy. So that is the function of this abstract component. This cookie prompt handler is basically performing the function of rejecting the prompt that comes up whenever we open our Google Chrome, and it rejects it, and it helps in proceeding with the test scenario. The search box is an entity that represents the search box, and it also consists of the methods that can be used concerning the search box only, nothing else. Search suggestion again consists of the methods and the variables that are concerned with the search suggestion entity of the test scenario, or the search scenario rather, only. So these were about the common. Now the main is let's talk about the result first. Now again, Google result page is a class which actually consists of the page whenever we land after searching for the query. It will give me instances of the nav bar and the result count. I'm calling it result stat here, and the search suggestion, it will give me instances of that. The navigation bar is a separate entity, and it will consist of the methods and the variables that are concerned with the nav bar, and obviously it will have its own definition of isDisplayed. The result stat again is that class which concerns the result counts that are displayed, and we'll be using some methods of this class to display the result count in our console. We'll see that once we run the test scenario. Now coming back to the Google main page, the last one, here we are having a method called goto. This will hit the Google website, and obviously this will return the search box and the search suggestion instances. Now where does SRP come into picture here? I mean, I'm just showing the page objects. I'm just showing the classes that are used in this whole test scenario. I'm just showing the web elements and the variables and the methods and whatnot. But if you carefully observe, every class has only one function to perform. Now the search box, for example, has functions, variables, or anything, any code that concerns the search box only. Similarly with the search suggestion, similarly with the cookie prompt handler, similarly with the navigation bar, results tag, Google result page, Google main page. If you just observe the code, the behavior of the code, it is just doing one thing and not disturbing any other part, or is not getting disturbed by any other part. And that is what SRP is. That is what a best practice is all about. So that is why in a test automation framework, it is advised, or in not only in test automation framework, or in any software application development, it is advised to develop a code that has some single responsibility, and that is what the first S of the word solid stands for. It should be serving only one purpose, and that's how code can be reused, that's how systems can be made scalable, and overall the software design is systematic, is very less troublesome to any other part of the code in the system. So yeah, so let's run this test to see if it works. Rejected, entered, and it's reading. It should print this thing on the console, as you can see. Yeah. So this was all about SRP, the best of my understanding, of course. Always a learner. So stay tuned for many more videos like this, and thank you. Bye bye.